Welcome, everyone. We could already say a good Erev Shabbos as we start the first of the Shloshis Yimei Hagbolah, getting ready for Matan Torah, Tavshin Pei Hey. And this is the special segment known as for the Shabbos table. And we have now partners as to this shir is being sponsored once again by its great dedicator of its inception, the Reuben family, with a request that they should have healthy Ben Zachar. And this week it's partnered by my dear Talmud Berich Goldwasser, Lahagdil Torah Ulahadira. The parsha says, Degel Machane Ephraim. Now, the banner of the camp of Ephraim is a departure from the norm, because the norm is that it always mentions Yosef. Like, for example, it says, Livnei Yosef Ephraim, Lamata Yosef, Lamata Menashe. Here is glaringly omitted Yosef. Now remember, I told you that the Torah is Nidreshes Eish Shchara al Eish Levaina, black fire on white fire. The black fire is the words. The white fire is the parchment. What do we learn from blank parchment? We learn to note omissions. So Yosef is glaringly omitted over here. And the Zohar says in Parshas Miketz that Yosef was omitted as punishment for exhibiting arrogance. When he was viceroy and the Shvatim came down, he arrogantly accused them of being spies. And then he says to them, incarcerating them, don't you know you're trying to get away with it? Don't you know don't you know that a man like me has divination powers, that you tried to slip things by me? We see from here, although Yosef did it in order that they should regret selling him and that they should feel contrition, and he did it because he was given a dream that they were going to bow down to him. He had many reasons to do it. Still, the Torah said it was an exhibition of arrogance, and therefore his name was omitted. You have to know that haughtiness is very ugly. It's interesting that the gematria of Gaiva, I realized this today, the gematria of Gaiva, Gimel is 3, Aleph is 1, is 4, Vav is 6, is 10, and A is 5, is 15. The gematria of Gaiva is Ka, Hashem's name. Because Hashem Molach Geos Lavesh. Pride is proper for Hashem, not for anybody else. We don't exist. Hashem is Echad. Without him, we wouldn't exist. V'ato mechayes kulan. I want to share with you a frightening Avos Reb Nosson. Although we're learning now Pirkei Avos, but there is a grand teaching called Avos Reb Nosson. There's a beautiful pirush from the art scroll on Avos Reb Nosson. So in the 38th parak of Avos Reb Nosson, it says something very scary, very scary. When the enemy seized Reb Shimon Gamliel and Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha. Was that your phone?
Yes.
To be executed as two of the Asar Harugim and Malchus. So the great Reb Shimon ben Gamliel was lost in thought, and he said with great pain. Oy lanu, woe is us. We are taken out to be executed like people that are mechalel Shabbos, koived elilim, like idolaters, like immoral people, like murderers. He says, how could this be? The great God-fearing Reb Shimon Gamliel says we're taken to be executed like the worst kinds of criminals, the worst kinds of sinners. So Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha asked permission if he could make a suggestion. Amalei Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha, could I make a suggestion? Respectfully, he said, only if the Rebbe wants to hear it. So Amalei Amar, he said to him, yes, speak. Amalei, so he said to him, Shemek kishayisa yoshev v'doirish v'harabayis. Maybe when you were sitting on the Temple Mount, after all, he was the Nasi, when you were sitting on the Temple Mount, and you were darshaning, v'yakolu chluse Yisrael yoshvin lefanecha, and thousands of Jews, hundreds of thousands of Jews, were sitting and listening to you. Maybe zacha datacha alecha, maybe you felt proud. Look at all these people listening to me. Amalai, so he said to him, Yishmal achilai. It's not so. I didn't let it get to my head. But what's apparent over here? That if he would have had a thought, boy, I'm a big tomato, I'm a top tomato. Look at all these hundreds of thousands of people that listen to me. If he would have had such a thought, then he would have deserved the execution. Now, of course, that's somebody on the level of Reb Shimon Gamliel. But it's scary about the magnitude of the sin of arrogance. So, with this in mind, coming down thousands of levels to our level, I want to tell you a story. Many years ago, when I was the Rav of the Agudas Yisrael of Staten Island for only 9 years. So we're going back about 34 years ago. We were in an oversized basement, and we were given it rent-free by a very magnanimous man, Mr. Führer. He passed away. He actually had a heart transplant, but he had rheumatic fever from the days of the camps, and he passed away. And his almana lost the house. So I found myself without a shul, a kehillah without a shul. So my president then, who was a very ehrlich Yid, he said to me, Rabbi Weiss, we're a poor shul. I think we have to close the shul. I mean, how are we going to put on 40 people an obligation to make a shul? So I told him, how can you close a shul? He said, Rabbi Weiss, you have to ask a shayla. And he said, don't ask Reb Ruvain Feinstein because he's Nageh B'davar, you're his Talmud. So I said, you know what? I'm going to the Agudah convention. I'm going to ask the first gadol that I meet. So I come to the Agudah convention, and who was the first gadol that I met? Rav Schwab. The great Rav Schwab, Zeichat Tzaddik Livracha, Rav Shimon Schwab. He was already in a wheelchair. So I went over to him and I said, I have a very serious question to ask him. Can I ask him? So he said, you'll eat breakfast with me tomorrow morning. Okay? So Friday morning, I eat breakfast with him. In those days, I was giving a shir in the Agudah of 14th Avenue to 250 Yidden, Daf Yomi. So Rabbi Schwab, before I got a chance to ask him my question, He says to me, Rabbi Weiss, how could you give shir to 250 people? Lishma? He says, you say a pshat, and you give a good teretz, you feel good. 250 people are smiling. How can you do it lishma? So I was quiet. He says, you can't. You can't. It's impossible. He says, so where's your Torah lishma? He says, amongst those 250 people, there are people coming after work, and they're tired, and they're falling asleep, and they're keeping their eyes open. They're learning Torah lishma. And you're generating it. That's your Torah lishma. So to put it in perspective, Rav Schwab was telling me that maybe it was possible for Rav Shimon ben Gamliel to give shir to hundreds of thousands of people on the steps of the Har HaBayis and not have any feelings. But for us, it's not possible. This is not possible. By the way, Rav Schwab told me when I asked him, should I try to build a shul? He says, you have to take it to a vote. You can't impose it on the people without a vote. He said, take it to a vote and you'll win. That's what he told me. And we won. It was a close vote, I understand, but we won. And from that, we built the Agudas Yisrael. 40 people built a building with great Mesiras Nefesh that's now worth probably $2 million. And it still exists till today. I was there another 29 years. But I want to mention also the idea of trying to teach to a lot of people. Ramosha Feinstein, Zech Tzav Kosh Vrach Zchus Yagn Aleinu Moreinu V'Rabbeinu, writes in the Hakdama to the Dibris Moshe on Bava Kama. He writes, who am I to write a sefer? Imagine Ramosha writes that. Who am I? He says, but you know, I'm a Rishiva in MTJ, and I give shir to 50 people. He says, the Rebbeinu Shalom after 120 said, is going to say to me, very nice, you gave shir to 50 people. But if you would write a sefer, it could be read by Jews all over the world and throughout the generations. That's why I write a sefer. So a person has to think big. Of course, Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha was saying, but you have to remember it's not you. It's only a gift from Hashem. Bishmachas b'nei kahos yachanu teimana. The Levium were on the south. Kahos, that's the Shevet of Korach. So Rashi says, so v'soimchin lahem degel Ruvain, near them was the banner of Reuven, oy l'rasha, oy l'shchena. Woe to a wicked person, woe to his neighbor. Because Reuven was near Korach, they got swept away in the Adas Korach, and the 250 people of Shevet Reuven and Dasan Aviram were lost together with Korach. We have to know that the Rambam says that we're mushba from our environment and how dangerous it is to be in a bad environment. It's so dangerous to be in a bad environment that this is the pshat that they learned that on the night of Makas Bechiras. It says, Hashem said, I did it myself. Lo yal yedei malach, v'lo yal yedei saraf. Not via an angel, not via a fiery angel. Why? Because even the angels did not want to go to Egypt. That's what a bad environment it was. This idea that even an angel could be affected by a bad environment. It's really a fascinating Gemara in Me'ilah. In Me'ilah Daf Yud Zayin Amud Aleph, it tells us that the wicked empire decreed against the Jews that they shouldn't keep Shabbos, they shouldn't circumcise, and they shouldn't keep Taras Mishpacha. So the Jews sent Reb Shimon ben Yochai to go try to be Mavatal the Gezerah. So Reb Shimon ben Yochai went, and Hashem sent a shade by the name of Tamalyon, to accompany him. When Reb Shimon ben Yochai saw the shade, he cried. He said, Hagar was spoken to 3 times by an angel, but I only get a shade. I only get a demon. The Gemara continues that they got to the Tsar, and they got to the Caesar, and Reb Shimon ben Yochai told the shade to enter the daughter of the Caesar. And the daughter started acting crazy, and the Caesar said to Rabbi Shmuel, do you know how to cure her? To Reb Shimon ben Yochai, do you know how to cure her? So Reb Shimon ben Yochai said to Tamalyon, get out of her. And the shade left, and the Caesar was very grateful, and he said that he could go into the vault and take whatever he wanted. And all he took was the decree, and the king said you could rip it up, and it averted a disaster amongst Klal Yisrael. So Reb Zilberstein asks, why Taka didn't Reb Shimon ben Yochai merit to have an angel? So he brings down a Shita Mekubetzes, Rabbi Tzal Ashkenazi. Shita Mekubetzes asks that the angel that spoke to Hagar came down to earth and spoke to her. The angel by the Akedah spoke to Avram from heaven. Asked the Shita Mekubetzes, why wasn't Avram Zeicha for the angel to come down? So the Shita Mekubetzes says the truth of the matter is the angel doesn't want to come down to this world. This world is very polluted. Hagar didn't deserve that the angel should speak to her from heaven, so the angel had to come down. Avram Avinu deserved for the angel to speak to him from heaven. Angels don't want to come down to this world. Says Reb Zilberstein, that's why only a demon came down. Angels don't want to come down. This world is very, very polluted. We have to be very careful, very careful. People don't realize. They're not so careful where they send their children to school. If it's convenient, it's good busing, and it's not so expensive, what's one school, what's another school? Who their peers are is all the difference in the world. You just can't say, I'll go somewhere in the summer where there's an available bungalow. You have to know what the environment is. It could ruin your family's life. You know, they say that Rav Moshe Bick said that he heard this from a Elchanan Wasserman, Hashem Yinkum Damai, that the Chavetz Chaim, that Reb Elchanan asked the Chavetz Chaim if it's proper for someone to stay in Russia even though they banned religiosity, in order to help save the people that are left over there. And the Chavetz Chaim said that in a place where you can't say Hashem's name, it has a din of a Beis HaKisei. You can't expect people to live in a Beis HaKisei. I want to tell you something about how people of knowledge know how dangerous a Goyish environment is. We know that Reb Chaim Kanievsky was married. I have a granddaughter named after her, Batsheva Esther Elyashiv. Reb Chaim Kanievsky was married to Rav Elyashiv's daughter. Rav Elyashiv's son, Rav Avram Elyashiv, testified about Rebbetzin Kanievsky, that when she was young, her father learned the whole day. Her mother took care to make sure her father should be able to learn. She was the oldest daughter. She knew accounting. She went to work. And because she went to work, she had to go in a place where it wasn't Charedim. Rav Avram Elyashiv showed a place in the house. See this place over here? My sister said every night the entire Sefer Tehillim, that she shouldn't be affected when she went to work. Every night she said the entire Sefer Tehillim. Now, the truth of the matter is that the flip side is also true. The flip side is also true. V'achaynim lefnei hamishkan kedma, those that camped before the Mishkan on the east, lefnei oyel moyed Moshe Aaron ubanav. So Rashi says, who were near Moshe and Aaron? Rashi says, Somchim lahem degel machane Yehuda, and v'achaynin alav Yisachar Zvulun. So the three neighbors of Moshe and Aaron were Yehuda, Yisachar, and Zvulun. Says Rashi, Toiv l'tzadik, Toiv l'shchena. It's good the righteous person, it's good its neighbor. Yehuda became a chokeki, my lawgiver. Yisachar, uvnei Yisachar, yodei bina li'itim. They even understood the intricacies of intercalating the year. And Zvulun, it says about Zvulun, that Zvulun was Shevet Sefer, Maishkim b'Shevet Sefer. They were scribes. So you see the impact that being near Moshe and Aaron was. So the Iyunei Rashi asks a very simple question. The Iyunei Rashi says, wait a second. I don't understand. That wasn't now. That was said by David HaMelech hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years later. Yehuda Mechaykiki, the Yehuda lawgiver, was also at the time of David HaMelech. And when it says Zvulun Moishkin B'Shevet Sefer, that was at the time of Devorah Neviah. What does that have to be doing? What does this have to do with being near Moshe and Aaron? And the Iyunei Rashi says a remarkable thing. You got it. Choosing a good sviva doesn't just impact now. It impacts down the generations. This is what I've said before. Being near tzaddikim is Gedayla Shimusha Yaisim Milimuda. Greater is serving than learning. There's a certain absorption, a certain osmosis that gets into the DNA and gets passed through the children. It's very possible that my children, my Einiklach, are learning and careful with Ruach Yisrael Saba because I was in proximity of Ramesha. So we should really try to impact our families with tzaddikim. It's interesting. It says, "Kach es alavim tachas kol b'chor b'bnei Yisrael." Hashem substituted the Kohanim for the Bechorim. But there's a remarkable Orach Chaim HaKadosh. It says in the Orach Chaim HaKadosh, Shelo Osid Lavoi Ha'avoida Yazru LeBechorim. That La'osid Lavoi, besides the Kohanim, the Avodah in the Beis Hamikdash will also be done by firstborns. Nagami, I'm a firstborn. It's a fascinating thing. Now, the Griz of Brisk says it's not so. It says it's not found in any Gemara that it'll return to Bechorim. But it's interesting that Reb Chaim Kanievsky writes that lahalacha, if you have a minyan and you're duchening, and the Kohanim go out to wash, and there's no Levi. It could happen in many kehillas. Shavuos night, there's a Kohen, they might not have a Levi. So there's no Levi who washes the hands of the Kohen, the Bechor. And Rav Chaim Kanievsky says when he was a young man, he was davening with the Chazon Ish, and they didn't have a Kohen, a Levi, and he, as a Bechor, went out to wash the hands of the Kohanim. I want to take the opportunity to once again thank the Rubin family, who partnered this week with Berich Goldwasser. Starting next week, we'll have a new partner to join up with the Rubin family, an anonymous partner who agreed to partner up with the Rubin family in sponsoring this year, a dedicated Talmidah of mine. Again, I want to say that we are looking for a sponsor for the Nosa share, 718-916-3100, rmmwsi@aol.com. Also, if you want to hear about Yom HaMiyuchas, I did include that in the Shavuos Gems, which should be archived now on the system until any time, and it's of course on YouTube. Thank you very much for joining us, and have a wonderful Shabbos.